Welcome to the video, guys. We all know about the Court of Appeal 2 weeks ago ruling that Shamima Begum could return to the UK to appeal against the UK government removing her British citizenship, preventing her from returning to the UK after a little trip into the Middle East to be a lunatic's pincushion. Now, this little adventure actually ended in two of the girls she left the UK with getting hellfired by a US drone, much like the Corbinated chicken's best friend, the Iranian General fried salami that Donald Trump barbecued a while back now. Well, following the Court of Appeal's nonsensical decision to let her back, the government appealed it and today was granted the appeal, meaning it will now go to the Supreme Court, which is a good thing that the government can challenge it, but worrying because we know what the Supreme Court are like. The prorogation case last year showed their true colours, so it's always a risk dealing with that cesspit. Of course, this being a progressive cause in the left's mind, most media outlets are reporting on this story, but we will take a look at the Mail Online's article as they seem to have covered it in more detail than the others. Now, before we get into the article, remember the daily live stream has moved over to Twitch, so if you want to join me over there to chat in real time, the link will be down in the video description, along with the channel's other social media links. Anyway, back to the jihadi spunk trumpet and the Mail Online's article, which headlines: Jihadi bride Shamima Begum's return to Britain is put on hold after government wins right to fight case at the Supreme Court. Jihadi spunk trumpet, who left to join ISIS 5 years ago when she was 15, had been stripped of her British citizenship after she was found 9 months pregnant in a Syrian refugee camp in February last year. Earlier this month, she won a legal challenge after judges ruled she had not been granted a fair and effective appeal. They said she should be allowed to return for a fresh hearing in a bid to overturn the Home Office's decision. But a Supreme Court judge this morning has ruled that any return must be put on hold while the government appeals the decision. Lady Justice King said the case raised points of law of general public importance, which should be considered by the UK's highest court. Which would sound promising to most people, but we know what the Supreme Court is like. As I've already said, anything they do is always a concern until they actually do the right thing, which, last time I checked, they really didn't. The prorogation case, as I said, is a perfect example of that. Sir James Eadie QC for the Home Office earlier said there was a big issue at stake, namely what principles and approach should govern a case in which someone at present cannot have a fair and effective hearing in a deprivation appeal. They cannot do so because they have placed themselves not as a result of any of the Secretary of State actions, but where that is a result of going abroad and aligning with terrorist groups, which I have to say is 100% on the money and completely unarguable if you ask me. But obviously, we know what the UK justice system is like. It's a complete clusterfuck. Sir James said it was an issue of real pressing public importance, which was perhaps the central democratic issue of our times. He added, this cannot be assumed to be unique or even, given the number of people who have aligned in this way, to be a highly unusual case, because obviously it's not. Sir James said jihadi spunk trumpet was in precisely the category that causes real concern. He submitted that, while there may be some potential for sympathy in the light of the age she was when she left the jurisdiction, she did leave the jurisdiction with the intent of, and then did align with violent extremists in Syria. The court also heard the apparent leaking of the Court of Appeal's draft judgment on the essential contents of that judgment to the Sun ahead of its formal publication would be referred to the Attorney General, because it would seem someone wanted to make a little bit of money by getting that out there as early as possible and giving the scoop to the Sun, it would seem. At the outset of Friday's hearing, Lady Justice King said there was a breach of the embargo which preserved the confidentiality of the judgment until hand down the judgment had been circulated to the parties on July 9th. Either a copy of that judgment or the essential contents of that judgment were disclosed or passed on to the Sun's national newspaper in advance of the judgment being handed down on July 16th. The judge added that the article was removed during the course of the night before the Court of Appeal gave its ruling. So apparently the Sun actually put the article up before it was supposed to and are now in trouble for it. Not that it really matters, considering what they actually did there would be considered a public service by 90% of the country, so I don't think they should really get in trouble for it. Lady Justice King also said the article, rightly or wrongly, referred to senior government sources as having been the source of the information. She said, we intend to report that matter to the Attorney General. In February this year, the Special Immigration Appeals Commission, a specialist tribunal which hears challenges to the decisions to remove someone's British citizenship on national security grounds, found found Miss Begum cannot play any meaningful part in her appeal, and that, to that extent, the appeal will not be fair and effective. Which, if you ask me, is just nonsensical. She doesn't deserve an appeal at the end of the day. She made her bed, she should lie in it. We already know that the SIAC refused her appeal last time, which led to the Court of Appeal case. Lord Justice Flack, sitting with Lady Justice King and Lord Justice Singh, said fairness and justice must, on the facts of this case, outweigh the national security concerns, so that leaves to enter appeals should be allowed. Which is something I covered at the time, and they actually won Shitweasel of the Week for, if you will all remember, just a couple of weeks ago now. Earlier this month, MPs and victims of Islamic State atrocities reacted furiously to the decision, as did 90% of the country that actually heard about it or paid attention. Tory MP Andrew Bridgen said it risked a flood of jihadis returning. He told the Mail Online, it opens the door for all her fellow jihadi brides to return to Britain, and potentially their terrorist partners too, which is 100% bang on the money. At the end of the day, that is something that is a very real risk if the Supreme Court allow her to come back and refuse the government's appeal when it actually comes up. As it stands, they've just let them go through to the appeal stage. They could well throw it out when it comes in front of them. Andrew Bridgen continued, most Brits will rightly think that when you swear allegiance to another country that declares war on Britain, that you have given up all rights and protections and privileges of your British citizenship. After today's ruling, it appears you have not. Which, what he said there is 100% correct again. If you swear allegiance to someone else, especially terrorist organisation who hates this country, then you can fuck off as far as I'm concerned. And the rest of the article's just going over bullshit that we already know and have covered before. So, like I said, it is good that the government have been able to appeal this, and it appears the Home Office is actually trying their best to keep her out. It's a shame they don't do that to the fuckload of boat migrants that are coming over every day, but we'll take this small victory while we can. Though, as I said already, we do need to remember that this is the Supreme Court. They are well known for going against what is best for the British people, as we all know, like I said, from the prorogation last year. Now guys, as it's the end of the month, I will do a brief live stream later tonight before I move on to doing the usual daily live stream over on Twitch, so be sure to check it out. It'll probably be around 8 or 9 o'clock. Hopefully YouTube will send you a notification as it will be on the main channel, but that is never guaranteed, as you all know.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.